again. This is Bunting with your Visual Functional Mathematics at level 2. And today we're going to start our lessons on measuring. I have to remind you that what we're doing now, from now on to the end of this unit, is applying all the knowledge we've learned from entry level, level 1, and even level 2, section 1 on numbers. You'll find out that you have to apply all of those knowledge in numbers, and central to our learning is our ability to use decimals efficiently. So, the reason for that is simply because when we're dealing with things like money and other units, we have to apply all of those knowledge and skills. This topic on money, lesson 1 on section 2 of your level 2 functional maths, is one of the longest topics we'll be doing. So it will probably take the best part of 45 minutes. But once we've done that, you'll begin to see why the advice I've just given you on the knowledge you've acquired from entry level, level 1, and of course section 1 of this level 2, why they're useful to you. Here goes. Money. The lesson will cover working with money, discounts and interests given as percentages, discounts involving fractions, profits as a percentage, calculating the price per item to work out value, working out the values of offers to find the best deal. I like deals. Compound interest, which is interest on interests, budgeting, rates and pay, and taxes. There are lots of keywords which you will be using during the course of the rest of the unit. And for this particular topic on money, you have words like discount, increase, profit, value, offers, interest, and then compound interest, budgeting, rates, and taxes. You'll find out that taxes is introducing us to some of the legal requirements of the UK and I dare say of most countries really, because you have to pay taxes, both council taxes and local taxes, and you'll be seeing how these are calculated and how it impacts on you. Working with money. If you get a question on money, the units will probably be pounds or pence. You need to be able to switch between using pounds and using pence. To go from pounds to pence, you multiply by 100. To go from pence to pounds, you divide by 100, because 100 pence makes a pound. And I dare say in other currencies like the dollars or the euro, it's the same thing. There are other currencies around the world which might have different units of measures, but let's focus on the UK currency, which is the pound. You may get a question that uses pounds and pence. If you do, you need to change the units so that they're all in pounds or all in pence. I think I remember telling you that during the level 1 course. Let's look at an example. Callum buys fish and chips for £5.25 and a carton of gravy for 60p and a cup of tea for 75p. How much does he need to pay in total? First, change the carton of gravy and cup of tea from pence to pounds. So 60p is converted by dividing 60 by 100, which gives you £0.60. 75p divided by 100 gives you £0.75. So we're working in pounds. Secondly, all the prices are in the same units now, so just add them up. So £5.25p plus £0.60p plus £0.75p all add up to £6.60. If the question tells you what units to give your answer in, then make sure you use those units. If it doesn't, then it's good always to use pounds if the answer is more than 99p. So be conscious of that. You could be required to give your answer in pence, then you have to convert. But usually it's best to give your answer in pounds and pence. Again, you will have a lot of practice questions during this unit because it is quite a challenging unit. You have a lot to take on board, and it's best that you test yourselves as you progress bit by bit. So here goes practice question set 1. A. What is £16.42p in pence? B. What is 210p in pounds? Question 2. Nazir buys a badminton set for £27.99p, a sweatband for £1.20p, and a bottle of water for 70p. He pays with a £10 and a £20 note. How much change does he get? £10 and £20 notes means he paid with £30 in those notes, and therefore he is entitled to a change. Answers to practice question set 1. Question 1A, 1,642 pence. B, £2 and 10 pence. Question 2, 11p or £0, 11 pence. Discounts on increases can be given as percentages as well. Money questions often involve percentages. For example, you might have to work out how much you save when you get a discount. You could also be asked the new price of something when it is increased or reduced by a percentage. Let's look at example 1. A shop is having a clearance sale. All items are 42% off. A pair of designer shoes normally costs £325. 1. How much do you have saved when buying the shoes during the sales? Write it down. You save 42% of £325. It's always good to make sure you write your work down clearly. Change the percentage into a decimal. Remember, 42% is equal to 42 divided by 100, and that will give us 0.42%. It's easier to work with decimals. Change the off to times and work it out. Remember, off means times. 42% of 325 is equal to 0.42 times 325, which is equal to £136.50. How much do the shoes cost during the sales? Subtract the savings from the normal cost, and then you know how much you have to pay after the discount. And that is 325 minus 136.50, and you only have to pay £188.50. Example 2. A campsite charges £54 per day to park a caravan. The price is increased by 18% during the peak season. This calendar shows the date of the peak season. As you see there, the shaded area, Monday, Tuesday, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th to 6th are peak season, and then after the last two rows, the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th and 31 are also peak seasons. The prices are different. How much does it cost to park a caravan for 7 days beginning on Monday the 21st? Let's go next slide to see this. First, find the cost per day of parking in the peak season. So you'll find 18% of 54, which is 0.18, and then times it by 54 to give you £9.72p. Add this to 54.54, which is the normal price non-peak period. So it will be 54.54 plus £9.72, and that will give you £63.72. If you read the information on the box there, you could do it in another way by just adding 18% and 100%, and then you find it as a percentage of 54, which will give you £63.72p. That is the discount, and that is the price. So in peak seasons, it costs £63.72p per day to park a caravan. Now let's find out how much it costs if you have to park some peak period and some non-peak period. So work out the total cost. Out of the 7 days, there are 4 days which are not in the peak period. So that's straightforward. 4 times 54, which is £216. And then you have 3 peak days, which is 3 times £63.72p, which is equal to £191.16p. So in total cost, 216 plus £191.16p is equal to £407.16p to park on the caravan site. Let's look at discounts involving fractions. You might need to calculate a fraction of a price to work out a discount. Fractions are very, very important, but you need to know the difference. Sometimes you might even have to convert the fraction to decimal to make it easier for your percentage, but it's best to know how to calculate fractions. Example, a cruise usually costs £1,698, and the special offer gives 5/12 of the price. What is the special offer price of the cruise? First, you need to work out 5/12 of £1,698. The special offer gives £707.50p of the cruise. Then you need to take this number away from 1,698. So the special offer price is 1,698 minus £707.50p, which is equal to £990.50p. Practice questions set 2. A pair of boots normally cost £152, but are on sale with 3/8 off of their normal price. How much do they now cost? Question 2. A fast food chain buys burgers from a food supplier. They're given a discount depending on how many they buy. The table on the right is used to calculate the discount. The full price of a single burger is 27p, and on the table there you will see quantity discount, and then fewer than 500, 500 to 1,000, discount is 2/15, and then more than 1,000, that is 3/15. What is the difference in the price to pay between ordering 1,100 burgers as a single order or as 2 orders of 550 each? Give your answer in pounds. So you see, in business you have to be on the ball. You know, if you're not smart, it can cost you more to run your business. So when you're giving conditions like that, first of all, find answers to the different conditions or the different offers and then select the best. Question 3. Frankie is deciding which of 3 new cars to buy. The table on the right shows the discounts she would get on each car. Again, you have car A, car B and car C, and then you see the different prices there, and then you see the discounts. All you have to do is to decide which car is the cheapest after the discounts. And there you have your answers. Question 1, £95. Question 2, £19.80. And question 3, car A. Let's look at profit as a percentage now. Profit is the difference between your costs and the money that you make. That is, if you're in business. The profit from selling an item is often given as a percentage of the costs involved. Let's look at example. Chloe makes and sells stuffed animal toys. The cost of making her last toy was £40. The toy sold on an auction website for £52. How much profit did she make as a percentage of her costs? Work out the profit, and you have a formula here. Profit is equal selling price minus cost. And then all you have to do, substitute with the real figures. That is, profit is equal to 52 minus 40, selling price and cost price, and your answer will be £12. And then secondly, work out the percentage profit. So percentage profit is equal to £12 divided by 40 times 100, and the profit percentage is 30%. Practice question set 3. You see, we've done it so that, I've done it so that as soon as we finish any rather challenging topic, you have the opportunity to practice. So by the time you go on to the next topic, you're confident. Question 1. Sabina buys a raincoat. It normally costs £59, but she buys it at a 12% discount. How much does Sabina save using the discount? 2. A parking fine costs £70. If it is not paid within 2 weeks, it increases by 62%. How much will the parking fine cost after 2 weeks? I hate them, so I try to avoid them. Question 3. Tahel works in a supermarket. She is marking down items for a sale. A TV costing £248 is given a 26% discount. Tahel prices the TV at £194. Has Tahel changed the price correctly? Question 4. David sells DVDs on a market stall. He buys the DVDs for £2.60 and sells them for £3.90. What is David's percentage profit on each DVD? And question 5. Luke makes fruitcakes for a stall at a village fete. It costs Luke £1.80 for the ingredients for each cake. If he wants to make exactly 35% profit on each cake, how much money should Luke charge for each cake? So here, most of these things are on percentage changes, and you just need to make sure you refresh your knowledge on how to go about it. And the answers are here. You have question 1, £7 £108p. Question 2, £113.40p. Question 3, the answer is no. And then the reason, the price should be £183.52p. Question 4, the answer is 50. Question 5, the answer is £2.43p. We look at calculating the price per item to work out value for money. Value for money is very, very important in virtually every business you are doing. So let's see what value for money is about. If you're buying a pack of something, you can work out how much you're paying for each item. And the formula, price per item is equal to total price divided by number of items. You can then compare the price per item for that pack with other packs. Example, a shop sells crisps in multi-packs of 6 or 11. The 6-pack costs £1.68 and the 11-pack costs £2.97. Which pack is better value for money? 6-pack. Price per bag is equal to £1.68 divided by 6, which is equal to £0.28p. 11-pack price per bag is equal to £2.97 divided by 11, which is equal to 27p. The 11-pack costs less per bag, so it's better value than the 6-pack. Work out the value of offers to find the best deal. Again, we're looking at value for money. To find the best deal, you need to work out how much you pay with each offer, or which offer takes the most of the total price. Example, Malcolm wants to hire a van for 5 days from either Hire a Van or Speedy Hire, that is the two companies that hire vans. Hire a Van, £165 per day with 15% off the total price for bookings or more than 1 day. Speedy Hire, £163 per day. Malcolm has a voucher of £99 off that he could use with Speedy Hire. So Speedy Hire's deal is a voucher for £163 if you hire the van for a week, and then Hire a Van is 15% discount. Which company should Malcolm use to get the best deal? Hire a Van. The cost of 5 days hire is equal to 165 times 5, which is equal to £825. Discount of booking 5 days is equal to 15% times £825, which is £123.75. That's the discount. So the total cost will be £825 minus £123.75p, which is the discount. The net pay will be £701.25. You could also do 15% off by subtracting it from 100 to get 85, and then you find how much it will add up to, £701.25p. Now let's look at Speedy Hire. Cost for 5 days is equal to 163 times 5, which is equal to £815. The voucher discount is 99p. So the total cost would be equal to 815 minus 99p, which is £716. So which one is better? Malcolm will get the best deal by hiring a van from Hire a Van. So you see why it's important to do your sums before you make a decision when you're in business. Practice question set 4. Question 1. A pet shop sells 6-can multi-pack of dog food for £3 18p and 15-can multi-pack for £7 80. Which multi-pack is the best value for money? Question 2. Gillian is buying a new carpet that she would like fitting in her lounge. The carpet showroom offers Gillian free fitting or 20% off her total bill. The cost of the carpet is £396.50. The cost of fitting is £120. Which offer will save Gillian the most money? Bottles of lemonade are sold individually and in packs of 4. A pack of 4 bottles normally costs £4.80, but today there is a 50% discount. Individual bottles are on a buy one, get one half price offer. They normally cost 90p each. Josh wants to buy 12 bottles of lemonade. Which is the cheapest way that he can do so? And the answers are as follows. Question 1. Answer. The 15-pack is best value for money. It's only 52p per can. The price per can for the 6-pack is 53p. Question 2 answers. The free fitting offer will save Gillian the most money. It saved £120. The 20% off offer only saves £103 30p. And the answer for question 3. The cheapest way for Josh to buy 12 bottles is to buy 3 packs of 4. The pack of 4 offer is 60p per bottle. The other offer is 67.5p per bottle. Now let's look at interests. Interest is money that's added on to the value of something. It's given as a percentage. For example, money saved in a bank account earns interest. Items that you buy on payment plans also cost money over time because interest is charged on them. When working with interest, calculate the percentage of the amount and then add it on to the original amount. Let's look at an example. Lara takes out a loan of £10,950 to pay for a car. She pays back the loan in 1 year plus 12% interest. How much money did Lara pay back in total? First, find 12% of £10,950, which is 0.12 times £10,950, which is equal to £1,314. You remember how we get that 0.12%. 12% is the same as 0.12 in decimal. Add this onto the £10,950 and Lara will have to pay back £12,264. You could also do this by simply adding the 12% to 100% and then you multiply that by 10,950. So 112% times 10,950 is equal to £12,264. In addition to interest, there is also compound interest, which is interest on interest. This happens in bank loans and some of these cowboy loans, because what happens is, if you take a long-term loan, every year the interest it incurs, you have to pay interest on that interest if you don't pay the loan off. So in this case, interest can be added over and over again. Money saved in a bank might earn interest once every year, so you get interest if you're saving. But if you're borrowing long term, it's the opposite. Money owed on a credit card might be charged interest every month. Compound interest is interest that is calculated as a percentage of the current value of something, including any interest that has been already applied to it. Example: Yusuf puts 40% into a savings account that earns 5% compound interest. How much money will he have after 3 years? You need to add an interest once a year for 3 years. Each year, the interest is calculated as 5% of the current savings. Let's look at the example. Mind the notes you see on the right. Compound interest increases every year, but it's always 5% of the current amount. Okay? So, first, find 5% of £40. That is the first year's interest you're calculating. That will be equal to £2. 0.05 times 40. Remember, 5% is 0.05, not 0.5. Add this to £40 and you will have £42. Second year, find 5% of £42, which is 0.05 times 42, and you'll get £2 10p. Add that to the £42 and you'll have £44 10p. Then, on the third year, you do the same thing over again, only with a new amount. So find 5% of £44 10p. That will generate an interest of £2 21p. Add that and you'll have an interest of £2 21p on the previous year's money plus interest, and you'll have a total of £46 and 31p. And if you have more than 2 decimal places, then it's always useful to either round it up or round it down, except if you're told otherwise. So Yusuf will have earned £6 and 31p over 3 years, and the total amount he'll have in his account would be £46 31p after 3 years. So it's good to save because you do make a little bit of money. Practice question set 5. Frankie puts £1,825 into a pension fund that earns 6% compound interest per annum. How much is the pension fund worth after 2 years? Question 2. Zola takes out a loan of £750. She is charged 10% compound interest every month. If Zola doesn't pay any money back, how much will she owe after 3 months? And your answer? Question 1, £2,050 57p. And question 2, £998 35p. When you're in business, you have to budget, and even at home you have to budget to make sure you're able to manage the money you're earning. What is going out, your expenditure, and what's coming in, your income. So, a budget is a record of the amount of money you earn and the amount you need to spend. That way you can plan how much you want to save every month as well. Budgets are used to control costs and incomes. For example, a business might use a budget so that it doesn't spend more than it earns. A budget can be a list of tables or things with an amount of money set aside for each of them. For example, Hafiz plans to open a market stall. The table on the right shows his budget for weekly costs, and you see the items there. You see stock for £705, rent £217, and wages £163. He has to pay himself wages, otherwise he'll be working for nothing. But Note stock. Stock is the products you buy to sell, which actually generates the income for you. Okay? What percentage of its cost are in rent? And here's the solution. Answer 1. Find the total cost for a week, which is, you add all the items together, 705 plus 217 plus 163, which is equal to £1,085. Find the cost of rent as a percentage of the total. You have your rent, £217 divided by 1,085 times 100, which is equal to 20%, and then you find 20%. Hafiz calculates that he'll need to earn £155 on each day of the week to break even in his business. Is Hafiz correct? Break even means earn enough money that is exactly the amount of money you spend for the week. Right? So income must equal expenditure. That is break-even point. The answer, there are 7 days in a week. So his weekly income would be 7 times 155, which is equal to 1,085. So the answer, yes, Hafiz's calculation is correct. He will break even. Let's look at practice question 6. Deborah is planning a holiday. Her budget is shown in the table below. So you have 4 items: travel, hotel, shopping, food and drinks. And the amounts for each of them is shown on the next row. What is Deborah's total budget? We have to add all of that. And what percentage of Deborah's total budget is set aside for shopping? Question 2. A social club is organizing an annual banquet. The club has 120 members and at least a quarter are expected to attend. A catering company is hired to supply the food. They charge £24.50 per person. What is the minimum amount of money that the club should budget for the food? And these are your answer. Question 1, A, £1,200, B, 32%. And question 2, 735. Rate of pay. A rate of pay is how much something costs per unit of time. For example, a phone call might cost 5p per minute. If a call lasted for 8 minutes, it would cost 8 times 5p, which is 40p. Rates of pay can also be used to show how much money someone earns. For example, a person might earn £7.83 per hour. So if you know the rate, you can find out the total cost or income of a particular activity. So example of rates of pay. Jill is supposed to work 37.5 hours a week and earns £9.62 per hour. During a busy week, she is asked to work a total of 40 hours. For the extra hours, her pay is increased to £12.10 per hour for those extra hours. How much will Jill earn this week? And that is your calculation. 1, find how much she earns for her normal hours, which is £37.50 times £9.62. Answer, £360.75p. And calculate how much extra hours she will work, which is 40 minus 37.5 hours, which will give you 2.5 hours. So that 2.5 hours, you apply it to the £12.50, which is the extra hours she's working for. So 2.5 times £12.10p is equal to £30.25p. In total, Jill will earn £360 0.75 plus 30.25, which is equal to 391 pounds. Practice questions at 7. A premium rate telephone line charges £3.60p per minute plus fixed cost of £1.20. How much would a call lasting half an hour cost? Question 2. Ahmed has a job that pays £410 a week. How much will Ahmed earn in 12 weeks and in 52 weeks? Ahmed is offered a new job that pays £22,000 per annum. If Ahmed takes this new job, will he earn more in a year than with his current job? Question 3. Liana hires a cleaning company to clean her house. They charge £15 per hour. She was charged £48.75p. How long did it take to clean Liana's house? And here are your answers. Question 1, £109.20. Question 2, A, £4,920. Question 2B, £21,320. And the C, yes, the new job pays more. And that is your explanation. Question 3, 3.25 hours. And in hours, that is 3 hours and 15 minutes, or 195 minutes. 3 times 60 plus 15, which is 195 minutes. Let's look at taxes now. A tax is an amount of money paid to the government. For example, council tax is paid to the local council, and the amount paid depends on the value of the property that you live in. In example 1, the table on the right is used to calculate council tax. Mary's house is valued in Band C. Marv's house is valued in Band C. He lives alone, so the council tax is reduced by 25%. How much does Marv pay in council tax? And Band C is £1,380, so you have to look at the discount. So 25% of 1,380 is equal to £345. So you subtract that from the Band C amount, which is £1,380 minus £345, and he has to pay £1,035. The other way you can calculate that is 25% reduction is equal to 100% minus 25%, which is 75%, and you multiply 0.75, which is the same as 75%, by £1,380, and you'll have the same amount of £1,035 that Marv has to pay for his council tax for that year. Another example is income tax. It is calculated as a percentage of a person's income, but only the amount that's above a certain amount. Okay? Remember that if you're working, you probably know about that now, but if you're not, before your tax, you have what is called a personal allowance. The personal allowance is how much you can earn before you are liable to taxation. Those of you who are in sixth form or are doing casual work will not be paying tax because you're not earning above £12,500 a year yet. Let's look at this example. Jamila must pay 20% income tax on all earnings above £12,500 in 1 year. If Jamila earns £35,000 in 1 year, how much income tax does she pay? So the first thing you need to do is subtract the 12,500 from the 35,000 and you'll have 22,500. and then you apply the tax of 20%. And 20% of 22,500 is equal to 4,500, and that's the tax you have to pay for the year. That is usually split equally over 12 months. And practice test, set 8, VAT, value added tax. VAT is what we call value added tax. This is paid on things that you buy. The table on the right shows the 2019 VAT rates. This is how much VAT is charged on certain items as a percentage of the item's cost. So you have chocolate and crisp, gas, electricity, fruit and vegetables. Fruit and vegetables, no VAT is charged. Gas and electricity 5%, I'm sure that's gone up now. And then you have chocolate and crisp, which is 20% because they're considered to be unhealthy. They're trying to discourage you from eating too much sweets. Before VAT is added, Simon pays 12p per unit of electricity, plus a fixed charge of £87 per year. How much does Simon pay in VAT if he uses 3,000 units of electricity in 1 year? And the answer is £22.35p. So you'll find out that questions on taxation can be quite wordy, but you need to take your time to read and understand it carefully. And before we go, let's just look at what we've covered on money. Quite a bit. You've covered the following topics relating to money. Working with money, which is a definition of all the things you need to know when you're calculating money. We have covered discounts and increases given as percentage. We've covered discounts involving fractions. We've covered profits as a percentage of something. We've covered calculating the price per item and to work out values. We also know how to work out the value of offers to find the best deal. We know how to work out interest, calculate interest, either pay to us or we're paying out. And in that context, we also know what compound interest means, which is interest on interest for long-term loans and purchases, hire purchases. We've covered budgeting, which is to plan to make sure that you are within your budget. That is, expenditure does not exceed income if you didn't plan it that way. And then we know rates of pay, which is very important, and you know taxation, so you know what your personal allowance is and how to apply the rate on the net amount. And of course, you are expected to have attempted all 8 sets of practice questions. Check your answers and improve your work. And if you got all of them right, don't forget to celebrate by patting yourself on the back. It's good to celebrate. If you didn't get all of them right, don't worry. Just do the corrections, because we learn from our mistakes. And that's your lesson on money. Read through. Make sure you're happy with all the topics we've done and covered. Make sure you do all the practice questions.